Utah. You
See, I have a friend from
Park
Salt Lake
City.
City, and he's from Salt Lake City, and he tells some pretty much horror stories. Like, yeah, there aren't bars.
People laugh when I tell them the liquor laws in
Yeah.
Utah.
I'm from Missouri, second loosest in the country.
Really?
Yeah, as long as you have a lid, it's not an open container.
What?
Mm-hmm.
California's pretty lax,
Yeah.
and that doesn't even fly there.
Yeah. It's not Louisiana that has drive-through liquor stores. Oh
my gosh. Yeah, California is pretty lax. You can't buy like liquor in 7-Elevens or grocery.
See, we can do that.
Buy beer, but no liquor.
So you can buy anything you want at a gas station 24 hours a day, which is really.
In Utah, you can only buy alcohol in state-sanctioned liquor houses that are only open from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m.
It's kind of like that in
Monday to
Dallas.
Saturday.
Yeah, I've heard Dallas used to be super.
Really?
strict.
They have area, which is, it's not like, I wouldn't call it a different city. It's actually on a different, I guess, area of the city where they're allowed to have liquor store. Yeah, it's actually a destination.
Just one area.
Like Dallas isn't allowed to have liquor.
No. It's like certain area. Oh, they call it dry and wet area.
Oh yeah, dry and wet counties. Yeah.
Yes, they use the county system. They use dry and wet county system.
That's crazy.
So if you in the dry county, you can only go for a beer store. They only have beer and wine. There's no liquor. You have to go to like wet county.
Yeah.
So that's like 10, 15 minutes drive.
Yeah.
See, in Missouri, there is no open container law. Like you can walk around with a beer, and like so when you leave a bar, you can take one with you. And so like I was in like New York, I'm like, oh yeah, like we'll just get some roadies to go, and I was like, what are you talking about? Like you will absolutely get arrested doing that.
Yeah.
But Anheuser-Busch is based in Missouri, so they
Just asking for you, Mike. Them too.
Woo! I'm popular. They love me. My students just saw me do that.
So you can see the number of doubles. The M2's like 14 student now.
They heard Mike was teaching again, so they all ran home. Hello, class. Hello, Clarice. I've been expecting you. Yeah. They probably don't understand the reference. It's okay. Hello? Hello, class. Hi. Okay. Everyone's saying hi. This section is squares and square roots. Perfect squares. A square number, also called a perfect square. A number that is the square of a whole number can be represented by arranging objects in a square. These numbers are all square numbers. If you represent each number, well, I'm glad you think it's going to be easy, T. Thank you. If you represent each number as a circle, if you put them together, it will be a square, the same length on each side. So the number 1, there's one ball on each side. The number 4, 2, 2, perfect square. 9, perfect. 3, 3, 16, 4, 4. Square numbers. Here's the multiplication table. The blue numbers are all your square numbers. So 1 times 1 is 1. 5 times 5, 25. 9 times 9, 81. And all of these numbers right here are your square numbers. A number multiplied by itself, the square number. Here are those examples. 1 times 1, 1. 2 times 2 is 4. 3 times 3, 9. 4 times 4, 16. Calculate the perfect squares up to 15 squared, which is 15 times 15. All the way up. So I want to see 5 times 5, 6 times 6, 7 times 7, all the way to 15 times 15. Go ahead and calculate those by yourself. Here's the answers. So 6 times 6 is 36, 49, 64, 81, 100, 121, 144, 169, 196, 225. These are all square numbers. A number multiplied by itself. 7 times 7. Identify the following numbers as perfect squares or not. Is 16 a perfect square? Yes or no? Yes. What is the square number? What is the... Yes, there you go. Is 4. 4 times 4 is 16. Is 15 a square number? A perfect square? No. Is 146? No. Is 300? Is 300? No, correct. Is 324? Yes. What is the number multiplied by itself? 16? 16 times 16, 324. Is 729 a square number? Is 729 a square number? Yes, it is, but we need to go back. 324 is a square number. It is not 16 times 16. 16 times 16 equals 256. There we go. It is 18. 18 times 18 is 324. Now 729, square number, yes or no? Yes. And what is the answer? Perfect. It is 27. 27 multiplied by 27 is 729. Square numbers. One property of a perfect square is that it can be represented by a square array. It's the same picture that we were looking at for 1, 4, 9, and 16. Here's the square. Each small square in the array shown has a side length of 1 centimeter. The large square has a side length of 4 centimeters. 4 by 4. 16 is the number. 4 times 4. The large square has an area of 4 centimeters times 4 centimeters. 16 centimeters squared. The number 4 is called the square root of 16. We write that as 4 equals, this is a square root sign of 16. This sign is the square root of 16, and it is 4, because 4 times 4 equals 16. Square root. A number which, when multiplied by itself, results in another number. 5 is the square root of 25. Can anyone give me another example of a square root?
Give like a worksheet that to kids, like what percentage you're gonna do it.
Can anyone tell me another example of a square root?
Well, this is why I think that this would be very effective because I think it will just engage them a whole lot better.
Because it'll actually like be
That's right.
like multimedia engagement.
Well.
Lecturing.
Give me a number that goes here and a number that goes here. Can anyone tell me another example? So on the last slide,
High example,
we had
though.
4 equals the square root of 16.
Ah,
Okay, perfect. 625.
This teacher does come with this.
เก่งมากเพิร์ด
The only thing they haven't got is the audio. The audio
625.
ไว้แตกต่าง
And what number is the square root of 625?
Activities go along with it, worksheets or lectures, and it's all prepared.
Perfect. 25.
but
Are they any good?
Another example,
they're okay, but I
3
own things as well. You know?
is the square root of 9.
Yeah, makes sense.
That's it.
6
Like, there's all the teachers' notes, but they've also,
is the square root
like I said, all
of 36.
that's a ordered worksheet.
What number is the square root of 49?
We have a ton of ordered worksheets.
Yeah, they
Perfect.
also got other stuff here.
7.
So you could do like a worksheet a day.
9 is the square root of what number? 81. Perfect.
They've also got all the games here too. So that's a part of the game that you can
We can use the following strategy to find a square root of a larger number. The square root of 4 times 9 equals the square root of 4 times the square root of 9. You can separate them. You separate this
which is, like I said, these
into
games
2.
that, so you haven't got to go and source all your own stuff. It just takes hours and hours and hours.
So we have the square root of 4, which we know is 2. The square root of 9, which we know is 3.
Yeah, but it's all pretty much here.
2 times 3 is 6. Or we keep it this way. The square root of 4 times 9 is the square root of 36. Square root of 36 we know is 6.
You know what I mean? Like, you've got to have it before that, because it's just such
We can factor large perfect squares into smaller perfect squares to simplify. So because you know that 4 times 9 are both square numbers, you can separate them to make it smaller.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, you've got to sort of research it.
These are the same answers.
And like during your day, you have like plenty of time on this one. Like,
Yeah, that's another thing I'm sort of trying to
Find the square root of 256.
try to get into schools.
So the first thing you can do
They go home.
is find 2 smaller square roots that you can do this from. 4
when you're at work,
and 64.
That's right.
You know that 4 times 64 equals 256. So you know that you can make both of these separate square roots. Now the square root of 4
My lessons are actually the first 3 days of the week.
are 2.
Like this 5, I've got a 5 and a 5, and then a 4. And I only teach 18 lessons a month. I don't know.
Square root of 64 is 8. 2 times 8
That's where,
is 16.
plan out the whole next week. Yeah, well, not the whole next week, and just tidy up everything you've done. You know?
So again, square root of 256. You want to find smaller square numbers
I have to fill in on
to simplify it by.
the teacher coordinator as well, so
You can choose 4
as well, so
and 64.
then I have to do the lesson plans to set the curve as well.
2 times 8,
And all those sorts of things.
16.
You know, there you go. There's the bingo.
Estimating square roots. What is the square root of 25? 5. Perfect.
They've got matching ones, they've also got dominoes, like past tense verbs,
Square root of 49.
like
7. Perfect.
matching past tense.
Square root of 27.
So what I plan to do is with especially those listing ordering things, so what I'll do is I'll print that out, maybe 3, like I'll have groups of 4 groups, you know what I mean?
3 square 3.
แล้ว
Whatever, it depends how many classes you get,
Where the square root of 27
so I'll print them out,
is not a perfect square.
yeah, and then I'll
We have to use another method to calculate its square root.
that and first group to get it correct, get it wrong, and so
Not all numbers are perfect squares, Not every number has an integer for a square root. We have to estimate square roots for numbers between perfect squares. Estimate square roots for numbers between perfect squares. To calculate the square root of a non-perfect square, place the values of the adjacent perfect squares, that is the perfect square to the side, to the next side, the one lower, and the one higher on a number line. Interpolate between the points to estimate to the nearest tenth. This may be confusing, but I'll explain it on the number line. Here's the number line. If the example is square root of 27, here's 25, here's 30, here's 35. Here would be the square root of 27. We know that we want to find the next close adjacent perfect squares. What's the closest adjacent perfect square on this side of 27? The closest perfect square on this side of the number line. Perfect, it's 5. It is 25. Can be square rooted to equal 5.
เราไอดีอะไรอ่ะ
And what about to the right on the number line of 27? To the right of 27, the next adjacent perfect square on the number line, 6, correct, 36. So here's 27, here's 36, and there's 5. This is the half point mark in between 25 and 36. It's in between 30 and 31. So we estimate that 27 is going to be 5.2. Here's 5, here's 0.1, and here's 0.2. Does this make sense? What you want to do is we're looking for 27. We know that the closest to the left of the number is the square root of 25, which equals 5. And we know that to the right, it is the square of 36, which equals 6. We're trying to estimate the square root. So you add 27 to the number line, and you see that it is 2 spots over. So you do 5.1, 5.2. You estimate that the square root of 27 is 5.2. If you were looking for the square root of 34, what would you estimate? If you wanted to estimate the square root of 34, you're using the same adjacent points. There's 5 and 36. Here's 35, so you know that 34 is right there. You want to count the points. Correct, Perth. 5.8 is the correct estimation. Great job. Because if this is the number that we're looking for, we see that the 6 is right there for the square root of 36. Move it 0.9, 0.8, 5.8. because we know that it's under 6, because 34 is less than 36. So you look at the next closest point on the number line, and then you count backwards to where 34 is. And it is 2 places down, so you estimate it to be 5.8. What about for the square root of 31? What would you estimate that is? Estimate the root of 31. Where would it fall on the number line? Perfect. 5.6. That is correct. Estimating that the root of 31, there it is, right there. So you can find 0.5. There's 5 right here. 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, 0.6.
ไอดีอะไรคะพี่เต้จะได้
So you know that 5.6 is the good estimate
ไม่เอา
for root of 31. Yes, you can use a calculator. This is a way to do it without a calculator. If you use the calculator for the root of 31, it comes to 5.56. 5.56. Which rounds to 5.6. This is a way for you to estimate without a calculator.
That's right, exactly right. But they're the same kids that like had the, I said debates, you know what I mean, about how it is the parents responsible for their children.
Here's the root of 27 equals 5.2. That's what we just estimated. You can check it by doing 5.2 times 5.2 and see what it equals. Equals 27.04.
What I've tried to do is come to their level with that, you know what I mean? Like even, I've showed you that ESL website and stuff.
So if we want to check 34, we said the root of 34 is 5.8. Root of 34, 5.8. To check to see if this was a correct estimation, you can do 5.8 times 5.8 equals, what does 5.8 times 5.8 equal?
But there's some other classes that are just,
เร็วตอบหน่อย
So you teach the same kids like 3 times a week or
เข้าใจป่ะเนี่ย
most of them only going for 2 lessons.
โอเค
2 lessons a week.
Here's all my classes here. I guess M1,
34 would be it rounded, but 5.8 is 33.6,
this is the assessments.
which rounds up to 34. That's how you can check and see that your estimation was close.
These results here,
Okay, so can anyone go ahead and tell me, estimate root 29?
and I'm pretty happy with that. It's like 7, yeah, out of 20. That's 40 questions though. So they've only got, out of 40 questions, they've only got 14.
Root of 29,
Never like true or false. They're all multiple choice. Yeah, you know what I mean?
perfect.
Do they scan
5.4 is a good estimation because we have 5,
I don't want that anymore,
we have 6, we have 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, and there is 29. So 5.4 is a good estimation. What about for root 24? This is tricky. What would be a good estimation for root of 24? Correct, 4.9. We can see on the number line, you can't see that 4 is the next furthest down, but you know that it would be 16, 4. You can see that 24 is right here, and that 5 is right next to it, so you can subtract 0.1 and make the estimation of 4.9. and you can check it by multiplying 4.9 by itself. 4.9 times 4.9, which gives us, what does 4.9 times 4.9 equal? Correct. 24.01, which is a very close estimation. So 4.9 is the correct estimation. By the same token, if we had the square root of 37, what could you estimate it to be? Correct. 6.1. And check it. 6.1 multiplied by 6.1 equals, it's not 36.01. 6.1 times 6.1 it is 37, there we go, it's 37.21. Correct. And that is a very close estimation. So we know that was the correct estimation. And that's how you estimate square numbers and square roots along a number line. Find the 2 points, place the values of the adjacent perfect squares on a number line. So in that example, it was 25 and 36. Interpolate between the points to estimate. So when we were trying to find 27, we did to this point right there. Interpolate. I don't know. So that is what these two things mean. Place the values of the adjacent perfect squares on a number line. Interpolate between the points to estimate. And you can check your answers by multiplying the answer by itself and making sure that it is close to the estimation. Are there any questions? Anything you need me to review or go back over? Are there any questions, or did we understand everything? No questions?
Không cóถามเลย นี่ถามจริงเหรอไม่มี question นี่ถ้าเกิดว่า
Okay, these are the square numbers that you want to go ahead and remember. If you want to review them. And if there are no questions, then that is all.
พี่ณเดชน์ไม่มีคำถามถามครูไม้เลยเหรอฮะ
Are you going to
ไม่
sleep?
มีแน่นะไม่มี
Okay, thank you, class.
They have no question